Good morning. Today's webinar on how to analyze your headlines for LinkedIn, emails, and blogs being presented by Lynn Williams and brought to you by SCORE of Chester and Delaware counties. Before we get started, a few introductory remarks. For those of you not familiar with SCORE, SCORE is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. We've been around for almost 60 years now. In Chester and Delaware counties, we have almost 100 volunteers who are there to assist small and startup businesses with mentoring and educational programs, all of which are available at no charge. For today's webinar, the presentation is being recorded and will be made available to you in a follow-up email after today's session. All participants have been placed on mute. The speaker, Lynn, will be stopping for questions during today's program. Please enter your questions in the Q&A box. If you have any comments or references you'd like to share with the audience in general, those can be placed in the chat. With that, I'd like to turn over the program to Lynn.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for having me back again. In case you all don't know, I have been with SCORE on their Speakers Bureau for over a decade, and the Chester and Delaware County chapter is my home base. So happy to be back here. All right, I'm going to put something in the chat here. I am sharing my LinkedIn URL, so please feel free to reach out and connect. You have to hit the more button before you see connect. Otherwise, you can just follow because I have my creator mode on. I've put my link tree in, which is a link of links. So you'll find lots of more resources available there. And then I put the link to the deck in. Now, don't think that you should take the link to the deck and leave because you'll miss all the live demos. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to go into presentation mode, and Adam is going to moderate the chat for me. But we've got a small group here, so please feel free, to ask questions at any time. All right, first thing we're going to do is tell you, these are the questions that we're going to address. And this was announced in the post for the event. So we're going to talk a bunch about different headline analyzers. And the reason that I do a Google slide deck is because I have live links built in. And by clicking on these hyperlinks, you will get to all these different platforms. I just made it easy for you rather than having to go to Google and look things up. Here are a couple headline resources for you. There's so much on Google, it's just unbelievable. But, take a look at these articles. I enjoyed them. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about an elevator pitch, because that's your verbal headline, so to speak. And I'm going to tell you how I might apply that to a LinkedIn headline. So here is an article that I wrote on how to perfect your elevator pitch. I put in different people's formulas for elevator pitches, and I gave them credit as to whose formula it was. But I want to scroll down to this one where it says credit to Steve Woodruff for his memory dart. So when I click on this memory dart article, looks like he's got a broken link there. Okay, I'll have to go back and Google that one. But the premise is that you want to make a 15-second elevator pitch so that, you're memorable, and it should have a vivid image in it. So you don't want to blabber on and on and on and on and tell people about what you do. You want to do something that's going to pique their interest so that they can ask questions and you can engage in conversation. Well, the same thing needs to happen on LinkedIn. You need to put in something interesting in your headline to pique somebody's interest and hopefully engage in a further conversation. So I like to put in what I call a USP, unique selling proposition. So if we go to this link, this was in Business News Daily. There's lots and lots of articles on USPs, but this is a good overview. And I am going to take you to my LinkedIn profile and show you a couple things here. So in my LinkedIn profile, in my featured section, I'm going to go one to the right. You see this turquoise light bulb, and this may change over time. It's called Career News Today. So that is my weekly newsletter that I put out. I will typically, I'll put that in the chat. I will typically write an article that relates to employed, unemployed, self-employed, as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, or something that's relatable to anybody and everybody. So if there's a week that happens to come up and it's not about you, just skip it. But I do write a lot for career tips for entrepreneurs. So this morning's article came out, is 14 tips to improve your accessibility on social media and LinkedIn posts. Well, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to know about that. Okay. But the one that I wanted to point out is one that came out last week. Do you have a USP, PBS, or VPS on LinkedIn? That happens to be what we're talking about for a headline: unique selling proposition or personal branding statement, value proposition statement. To me, they're kind of almost one and the same, but they do have some differences and idiosyncrasies. So if you'd like to subscribe, I have 5,644 subscribers. And, as I say, I do put those out every single week. So let's talk about this headline and how do you get a USP. So when you put something in Google, people are not looking for a CEO of ABC Printing Company. They're looking for printers near me, or something along those lines. So you have to think about your LinkedIn headline and not treat it like Google. You have to put in keywords in what you do in order for people to find you. They're not going to look for CEO or owner, founder of a particular company name. And you don't want your LinkedIn URL to be branded to your company name. That's not what it's for. You are a person. You have a first name and a last name. Your company page on LinkedIn is a totally different story. That's where you brand your company name. But when you go onto Google, just think like Google. What would you type into Google? You're going to type in the same thing on LinkedIn to find somebody like you. But you have to make yourself memorable on LinkedIn. Here's an example of someone who is local in the area that I found on LinkedIn. She is integrated digital marketing professional. Well, you could have up to 220 characters in your headline on LinkedIn. So you might want to take advantage of, expanding your headline so you could tell a little bit more of a story. So I played around with her headline a little bit, and I came up with different headline scores. And I did that using a tool called ShareThrough. So I'll put that in the chat also, headlines.sharethrough.com, although it's in the deck. So if I were to type in integrated digital marketing professional, okay, it's going to give me 3 scores. I'm going to click on find out. The first score it's going to give me is an overall score. And it tells me the strengths and it tells me suggestions. The next 2 scores, one is an engagement score and one is an impression score. Well, it's not making a very good impression. You want to think of these headline analyzers as a traffic light. You've got green, yellow, and red. You definitely don't want red. You want to take caution with yellow, and hopefully if you've got yellow, it's a high yellow in the high 60s, but green is definitely good. So in order to do that and get those better scores, you got to work it. So how do you work it? Well, if I were to, let me go on to another couple, I took you through different scores that I got. So let me just show you right here. Here's the last one. And we're going to put this in to the analyzer, but let's read it first. Integrated digital marketing professional. I should put a pipe in there. Social media, email marketing, SEM, SEO, web services, graphic designer, Google Analytics. Now, on her LinkedIn profile, she was saying how well she got conversions and engagements with her customers. Well, she's not getting it on LinkedIn, with such a sparse headline. So here's the USP: conversions and engagements better than hot, buttery popcorn at the movies. I hope that made you smile or grin, because that's what it's supposed to do. Did it make that impression on you? Is it memorable? If you didn't know this lady's name and you were looking for digital marketing and you put in popcorn in LinkedIn, you could find her because LinkedIn is a database. So let's hit the analyze again button and see what happens. Okay, now we're getting some green. Now we have an overall score of 80, an engagement score of 65, and an impression score of 100. Now, how do I get USPs? Well, I have been using ChatGPT an awful lot. And I'll just go into ChatGPT and put in the prompt, write me a unique selling proposition of under 10 words for this person, and I'll put in what it is that they do. So I'm going to pull up somebody live and just do another demo here. Here is a graphic designer, and he is in Phoenixville. So he's Australian. So I thought, well, let's play up the Aussie. And here's creative director, senior graphic designer, branding strategist, crafting compelling visual stories to elevate brands from down under to up over the top with cutting edge creative solutions. Okay, so let's take that headline and let's pop that into ShareThrough. Now, if I only put creative designer, senior graphic designer, or creative director, that's not going to get us very far. So let's hit the analyze button. And we have 198 characters out of 220. So we have a 97 overall score, a 95 engagement score, and a 100 impression score. So that's pretty good. There's one client I had who got 100, 100, 100. Couldn't believe it. That never happened to me before. So if you have that, let me know that you succeeded to get all 300s. That'd be fun to know. Does anybody have any questions about share through before I move on? I don't see anything in the chat, but if you do, now's the time to put the information in the chat.
Yeah, no questions in the Q&A
All
at this
right.
point. Feel free to type them in and Lynn will answer them for you.
All right, moving on to the next one. So I wrote some articles on how to write good headlines. So this first one is a general one. It's how to write good headlines for LinkedIn articles, but it really is more than just LinkedIn articles. You can use this other headline analyzer for blogs, articles. You can even check it out for various event titles. So this one, I actually use a different headline analyzer to get this particular title. So here are links to a whole bunch of other different headline analyzers, and we're going to talk about these today. So let's go to the next one. This is how to boost your LinkedIn headline score. And this is the article I wrote about the integrated digital marketing professional. And then 3 ways to be memorable on LinkedIn. So one way is you got to create a custom banner. The other one is a headline, and the other one is your content. All right. And then I did say subscribe to my career news today. So let's talk about banners, and then we're going to come back and check out this other headline analyzer. So you can build your USP from your headline into your banner if you wanted to. You can put your first and last name in or not, and you could put your USP in. So here's somebody that, does content writing, brevity and wit sparked by caffeine. Here's somebody who is in sustainability, to be part of the solution, all about the we. And then here's a global marketing executive transforming complex problems. And he's got that vivid image of a Swiss Army knife. So that's supposed to, convey that memory dart in your mind. Here's a couple other ones. This person is not a bioinformatician, but she's an artsy bioinformatician. This person does underwriting for mortgages. This person does managed care mixologist. So again, you don't have to put your first and last name in, but if you are representing a company, maybe your company has a tagline or USP that you want to put in. I'm just planting some seeds here today. Now, if you want to know how to make those banners and other graphics for social media, I'm coming back to SCORE in October on the 12th and the 26th. The 12th is just an hour overview on how to create snazzy graphics. And then the one on the 26th is a step-by-step demo. So here we are back to this other headline analyzer called CoSchedule. Now, it's free, but they also have a paid version. It's called Headline Studio. But I've typically just been using the free one, and it gets me to where I want to go. Now, if you wanted to put a title in for an event, what it's going to do is give you some scores. So here's an example: social selling on LinkedIn. So I already logged in to my CoSchedule headline analyzer, and we've got what? Oops, let me close that up and close that up, and I'm going to close that up. Okay, so we're going to type in social selling on LinkedIn. Oops. All right. I'm going to click the analyze button. Well, it used to give me a 41. How about that? Now it's giving me a 37. It's red. So again, you want to key to the traffic light colors. You want green, at least a high yellow, or but green is better, but you definitely don't want red. So what do? They give you the word count, the character count. If you have the paid version, they'll give you some suggestions, but it'll tell you, are the words common or not? Do you have emotional words in there? Do you have power words? So it does give you some suggestions, on how you can ramp that up and make it better. So here's another one. Oops. How to skyrocket connections into clients using LinkedIn and social selling. Okay, let's try that. How to skyrocket clients or connections into clients. Connections into clients using LinkedIn social selling. Okay. LinkedIn social selling. All right. So now when I put that in, it's along the same lines, but I'm just coming up with a different name for my event. Let's click reanalyze. Now that's very interesting. This one came out as 57, and when I did it before, it's 71. I can't tell you why that is happening. So I would have to, again, just work the words in here. Maybe when you use how to, it usually raises the score. Or if I did 9 tips. Okay, we're going to do 9 tips to skyrocket. Let's try that. That brings it down lower. 9 tips on how to. So you just have to keep playing with it because it'll go up and down depending on what you do. So if I were to make it shorter, 9 tips on how to skyrocket connections into clients. Okay, maybe we'll take the rest of that out and see if that doesn't do anything either. So you just have to keep playing with it and see where you go and how you can improve the score. Typically, I use CoSchedule for articles, and I will use the Sharethrough for LinkedIn headlines. Now, here's another one. When I put it in, it may be different now, but making seamless carousels gave me a 38. And then 7 tips on how to make seamless carousels gave me a 74. And then, when you change the how to and the how many tips, that changes it. So I actually did write an article about how to make seamless carousels on social media. And a carousel's like a deck. So I've got step-by-step instructions on that article if you want to play with it. There's also AMA, American Marketing Association Headline Analyzer. And, it gives me totally different scores. But I use the same words, as I did for the previous one for CoSchedule. So you're going to get different scores depending on the platform. So you just have to play with it and try it out. So if you were to go back to the beginning here, here's this Advanced Marketing Institute headline analyzer, and you just tap in there. Okay. I'm going to go back to on slide 18. All right. Oh, I did put the link on this one. Now, when I put these words in, making seamless carousels, it says no result. And that's because it's too short. So I had to at least put extra words in. I don't know whether it was 4 or 5 to see what kind of score it would give me. So if you try to use this one and you have a short and sweet headline, you may not get a result. And I just wanted to let you know why. And there's another one, it's called Impact. So I'm going to click on that. And it says, what do you want to blog about? It'll give you, you can put your keyword in. So if I put carousel, keyword type, is it a product or service, brand or business name, industry, or something else? So I'm going to put in something else. And I know it's going to come up with some funny things. Okay. Blank factors that affect the cost of carousels. What are the problems with carousels? So it doesn't know what a carousel is on LinkedIn. So you might have to say, PowerPoint deck or something like that, and then replace the word carousel in your headline when you actually get another set of verbiage that's going to work. Here's another one called Capitalize My Title. And I got different scores again. Here's what it looks like. You put the headline right in here, you click Analyze. Here's something called Portent. And this was kind of funny. When I put in carousels and generate 11 things about carousels your kids don't want you to know. So again, it doesn't have the context that it's not a carousel on a merry-go-round for kids. It's a deck, on LinkedIn. So sometimes you have to change the verbiage and the words to make it make sense. This one is really cool. Answer the public. So you can get a couple free ones, I think per day. But if you are a writer or blogger, you can upgrade to the pro version. So it says down here, enter a topic or a brand. So if I were gonna put in entrepreneurship, okay, United States English, search. It's gonna come up with this cool circle. Just a hot minute. See all these things spinning here. Here you go. So on entrepreneurship, it'll come up with this circle. And, are, can, how, what, when, where, which, who, why, will. These are all questions based upon the topic of entrepreneurship. So let's look at the hows. How entrepreneurship is helpful to society. Explain. How entrepreneurship affects the economy. How entrepreneurship affects our national economy. Like, these are things, I guess, that people want to know. So it's suggesting titles that you could potentially write about. Next one, I want to talk about email open rates.
Yeah, Lynn, before we go there, we do have a couple questions.
Oh, great. Let me take the questions.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, would you use share through for a company page?
Well, that's an interesting question. So let me take you to my company page. And so we have not that one. So we have a visual. So the share through headline, you don't have that on the company page per se. You do have a tagline here. So if you want to generate a tagline for your business, you could try making a tagline. But a tagline is something different than a USP. I mean, it's along the same lines. But a tagline is something that is timeless for your business. It will maintain itself throughout eternity versus an advertising campaign. Like, if you're as old as I am, you might remember "Where's the Beef" from Burger King. So that was one particular advertising campaign and slogan versus a tagline, just do it. Okay, you know that from Nike. Because you're worth it, L'Oreal. Like, that will hold, for the length of the business. So, to answer your question, I guess kind of sorta you can use it, but when you write this tagline, you only have so many spaces here on your company page, but you could play with that. What other questions?
Okay, one more question. Should headlines include emoticons?
You can include them. In my humble opinion, I wouldn't put them in the beginning. The reason I say that is because I'm a little bit of a WordPress geek, and I think about, okay, when Google takes this information and they're going to index it, they're going to index the first 60-ish or so characters. It depends, I think, on the pixel width of the letters. So like a letter I is very skinny, a letter N is an I with a hump, and a letter M is a letter I with two humps. So the pixel width of an M is twice as much as an N and a lot more than an I. So that's why I can't say whether it's 62 or 66 or whatever. So I want to keep the words pure in the beginning of a headline, for main keywords, and I would put the emojis at the end. So where do I get the emojis from? This is my favorite website. It's called emojipedia.org, and I will put that in the chat, even though it is in my presentation. Okay. What other questions?
That's it for right now. If folks have any additional questions, please fire away.
All right. I'm gonna close up Headline Studio and Line Analyzer. Okay. So I want to talk about email open rates. Now, what I started doing, I'm not quite sure, last year, I think sometime, I go on Emojipedia and I get a blue circle and a white circle. And at the beginning of every subject line for my MailChimp emails, I put those two colors. I'm consistently branding the nonprofit Great Careers Group. And when people see the blue and white circles, they know it's my weekly email. And then I put in, other words. So here was LinkedIn, job search tips, headline analysis, and more. You want people to open your emails. So you kind of got to put what it's about. In the very beginning of time, we have different volunteers that are a nonprofit, and somebody was using the same headline every single week. Career education events week of, October, whatever to whatever. That wasn't cutting the mustard. So we went from different open rates, and then somebody made our email super duper long, super duper detailed, lots of links to click on, and the open rate went way down. It was just too much information. So I took over the MailChimp again, and I try to make it as short and sweet as possible. And my current open rates are about 33 to 35%. And sometimes I squeeze in a 38%. Sometimes I have 45%. And that's kind of a mail list of maybe close to 5,000 at the moment. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good open rate. So these rates, I know it's really hard to see this little chart on the left. That's why I made it big in the blue box on the right. So January 2021, we had open rates of 12 to 13%. We raised it a year later to 30 to 31%, a year later to 32 to 35. And then in March of this year, it was 35 to 36. I just haven't updated this particular slide. But you really want to think about your subject line and then the little blurb that goes under the email explaining, what it is that you do. But you can put emojis in that to build your brand. Now, here's past MailChimp issues. So if you wanted to see, what it is that I'm doing, you can click on that and look at that. See all those blue and white circles? And then here's the titles that I put, in the different subject matters. And if you do want to subscribe to my weekly newsletter and see what it looks like, that's all we ask, is email, first name, last name. We keep it pretty simple. But I worked with a consultant or a volunteer who actually does email marketing for Disney, and he wanted to volunteer his time for nonprofits. So I'm on this platform where we can get amazing volunteers to help. And so he helped me set up this spreadsheet. And every week, I put the information in: campaign name, deploy date, how many sends, opens, open rate, clicks, click rate, click to open rate, unsubscribes, unsubscribe rate, bounces, and bounce rate. So if I were to take you to this document, I think it's pretty up to date. Here it is. And I'll make it a little bit, well, I can't make it bigger. You won't be able to see the whole thing. But, here's how many people I have on my mailing list now, close to 5,000. We just took over another organization. And the week of September 26th to 28th, I got 1,706 opens, which was a 34.3% open rate, 25 clicks, 7 unsubscribes, 17 bounces. That kind of stuff happens. But I've got, all of 2023, I've got 2022, you can see these different rates, and then look at 2021, there's my 12%. So you got to work those email headlines so that, you get better open rates on your emails. Any questions before I move on? I don't see anything, but.
No, don't see anything.
All right. Okay, so my upcoming, workshop schedule is here, but I also put it on a slide. And then for our nonprofit, there's a whole bunch of other events that are coming up. This slide, I just want to share because it's got SCORE on here. The Philadelphia Area Great Careers Group, we go by Great Careers Group. We were a SCORE Small Business Award winner in 2020. And here's the YouTube and the article if you are interested in reading it. So I not only am a SCORE volunteer, but I was also a SCORE mentee. I tapped into SCORE's free mentoring to help um, me have outside eyes on my nonprofit and provide suggestions on how we could grow. So if you are a, small business or entrepreneur and you haven't tapped in to the mentorship of SCORE, I highly recommend it. Here's my contact information if you need me. And then I'm going to go back to my banner for just a minute on LinkedIn, but I do want to point out that in March, I was listed as one of the top 15 LinkedIn experts in 2020. That was a complete surprise. I didn't apply to anything. And then also last year, I was on the top 50 LinkedIn Experts International, and somebody, I guess, nominated me for that. So that was quite a nice surprise. So here are the rest of the events that I'm involved in through 2023. But those are also elsewhere. So I'm going to take you back to my LinkedIn profile. And so this in your featured section on LinkedIn. Okay, so here is a post where, these are my upcoming speaking events in just the month of October. It's a busy month. Now, another thing you could do, it's not really a headline, but it may help you build your brand, is I call this a LinkedIn email signature. So I put my name and I get to reiterate what it is that I do. And then I have a call to action, like what I share, ring the bell on my profile, subscribe to the weekly newsletter, and follow this hashtag and the LinkedIn company page. So if you have emojis that you use as part of your headline, you could also rebuild those emojis in on your LinkedIn signature. Every week I put out a little video, and then there's my newsletter. But I wanted to show you, if you have any questions or you want to reach out, right here is more gobsmacking resources. This is another way to help build your brand. I did it on Linktree. Right here, you're looking at something absolutely 100% free. I don't get any analytics with the free account, but on Linktree, here it is. Here gives the nonprofit Linktree. Here's my upcoming speaking events, publications, book a call, etc. So here's the Linktree for the nonprofit, and I do get analytics for this. And I just want to point something out. Every month for over 10 years, I've been teaching a 3-hour LinkedIn workshop. So 9 hours of LinkedIn. So come join me on the third Saturday of the month. And I do cover tips like the headlines, but a whole lot more. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right. Thank you, Lynn. Lots of great material presented today. If there are, I'm not seeing any more questions. Oh, before we go, Lynn, can you let go of the screen?
I sure can.
Yeah. I'd like to give you information on how you can request a mentor. Yeah. As Lynn mentioned, all of our mentoring services are available at no cost. And I also want to launch a poll before you go. So please, before you leave, please fill out our poll so we can get feedback on today's session. If you're interested in requesting a mentoring session from SCORE, you can reach out through our website or call the number indicated on this slide. You'll from our website, you can select your own mentor based on profiles which are available online, or you can call and um, you and our assistant will help place you with a mentor with expertise that best meets your needs. Our offices are located at the Chester County Government Center in Westchester, and phone our phone and website and contact email are provided here. So thank you again to Lynn for presenting some great material for today's webinar. Thank you to our participants. Um, you will be receiving a follow-up email with a link to the recording of today's webinar, and you'll be and if you're not already, you should start receiving notices of future programs we have. We run about five, 5 to 10 webinars per month on a variety of topics of interest to small businesses, all available at no cost. And we'll, we look forward to seeing you at future events.
All right. I put the link to the deck back in the chat for anybody that came in late and didn't get that link. So
Thank you.
hopefully everybody's got it now. And I bid you adieu. Have a great day.
Thank you.